Woohoo!
3, 2, 1. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Comic Book Club. I'm Alex.
I'm Justin.
What? Whoa. When did that happen?
Going Alex, Justin, and then Pete.
Did you
It
forget
just
your
felt
own name?
natural to just say I'm Justin.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That's weird. Wait,
Yeah.
Did you actually forget, or were you doing a bit?
No.
Because I
Yeah, I
couldn't
was
see your
doing a
face
bit.
when I was doing that.
Yeah.
I was deep in producing the show.
Is that how you produce? You use spirit fingers?
Yes, exactly. And then it just kind of happens. Folks, thanks you so much for tuning in to Comic Book Club. If you're listening to the podcast, hello from the past. If you're watching
I
live,
love Cyclops. Come on, Joe Crack. Come on.
there's a lot of stuff going on in the comments here. We're going live to a couple of places. We are live on Crowdcast right now. If you're on Crowdcast, hello. We love you on Crowdcast. If you're over on YouTube, hello, everybody on YouTube. We are keeping an eye on the chat there. Also, a fun little mention, we passed 6,000 subscribers on YouTube, which took a little while. Took a little while, but we're excited to be there. And if you happen to be watching and are new to the show, welcome. Please give us a little thumbs up. We always like that. We're going to get to your questions later on the show. Just for you all here.
Yeah.
And Justin, our third host, should be popping in at some point.
He's a nice guy. He just doesn't have a concept of time or anything, you know. Super funny guy, though. Great guy.
Yeah. Wow. Who are you?
What?
What is going on with you today, Pete?
What?
I don't know. You're just being very complimentary of Justin, which is off character.
Yeah, it's weird.
No.
Maybe
is
it's
it your new
opposite day.
headphones? Is it the fact that we're now Beats buddies? Is that what's going on?
Beats Bros. Whoo! Yeah, my parents got them for me on my birthday.
Nice. I think I've told this story on the show before. The reason I have Beats by Dre headphones, when I was working at MTV way back before anybody knew any nerd stuff, MTV was like, hey, we're going to do something at Comic-Con. And it was literally, we're going to do something at Comic-Con. We don't know what it is. So they invited me as the resident nerd expert to go up to an office, like on a very high floor, for a brainstorm about Comic-Con stuff. And every idea was insane. And then they'd turn to me and be like, would comic book fans like that? What do you think? Would they like that?
That's
and every
funny.
time I was like, I mean, they wouldn't totally hate it, I guess.
Wow.
And so after an hour of the brainstorm, I went back to my office and I was sitting down there. And about 10 minutes later, a woman came down and said, hey, you're Alex Albin, right? You were at the brainstorm meeting for Comic-Con. And I said, yes. She's like, thanks for coming. Here's your Beats by Dre headphones.
Wow. Somebody at MTV, like a bigwig, was like, get me a nerd. There's got to be one working here at MTV. Get him up here.
I'm not going to call out a name because I don't want to get any trouble, but he's the guy who is in charge of MTV now. So he made good decisions across the board.
Yeah. Hey, you got free headphones out of the deal.
Exactly. And they've lasted for a very long time at this point. So, Pete, look forward to them. They're going to be pretty awesome. Now, I am going to go over here, and I'm going to try to invite two of our guests into the stream. We actually have three guests for you today. Later on in the show, we're going to have W. Maxwell Prince, who is the writer of one of our current favorite comic books on the show, so stay tuned for that. But right now, we're going to invite in James Emmett and, Kirsten Thompson. There we go. Your name. They are the creators of I Am Hexed. We previously had... Hey, James on the show. And hey, there's Kirsten.
Hey.
Hello. How are you all? Thanks so much
Welcome
for coming
back.
on the show.
Oh, Kirsten.
Thank you both so much for coming on the show. We chatted about I Am Hexed a while ago, I think before the first issue ever came out, right?
Yeah, we talked about it pre-COVID. So,
Oh, man.
I know. What does that mean? Like 7 years ago or something? Like,
Either 7 years or 7 hours, or time has no meaning anymore. Doesn't matter.
Something like
But the
that.
exciting part is you have going on Kickstarter right now. You have I Am Hexed #3. It's doing, not to jinx anything, but it's doing real well at this point, right?
yeah.
Yeah, we've reached goals, so I mean that's always
Congrats.
the goal, is to reach the goal and hopefully exceed that.
So this is a great book. For those who didn't listen to the previous show, didn't come to the previous show, can you give kind of like the log line of I Am Hexed, what the general pitch is so people can know?
Yeah, so I Am Hexed is basically a sort of supernatural, magical, political thriller. It is a kissing book too, so there is some romance in there, a little bit of kissing.
All right.
But yeah, basically it's a story of a witch named Charlie who is in modern day Washington, D.C. She's kind of working behind the scenes, and then things kind of implode. And she goes on the run with her ex-girlfriend, and an accidentally carnivorous plant tries to figure out why people are chasing her, both normal, non-magical authorities and witch authorities. So it becomes a whole big thing.
Talk a little bit, because did we have both of you on the show at the same time, or James? It was just you, right?
It was just me. Kirsten is based out of Seattle area.
Oh, okay, right.
So
Yes.
to do anything live was hard. I'm in New York, so I was able to.
This is great. Because of the pandemic, everything is up. We're all able to talk to each other
Anymore, so we can
No.
make
Cup half full,
Yes, exactly. But so I'm excited to chat with both of you. I guess, James, we talked a little bit about your collaboration the last time. Don't worry, Kirsten, you only had complimentary things to say. But I guess from your perspective, Kirsten, why don't we ask you then, how did you guys get together on this project? What's the collaboration like? How do you work together when you're creating this book?
Gosh.
Oh no!
A nice simple softball across the top, right at the top.
Question. I thought we got rid of these. So I had an idea, and I think James, you were asking for ideas on Twitter at one point, and
I was looking specifically for like the queer community and women and just people like that. I was at 405. I'm still at 451, but at the time we hadn't had a lot of that diverse crowd, so I really wanted to bring someone else in.
Yeah, I think, and I pitched you something that wasn't quite a good fit, and then I came back, and then I pitched you I Am Hexed, and you said, "Oh my God, this is it! Let's do this." And then, because I had the original, the pitch, and I don't know if I had all of issue 1 done when I pitched it to you. I might have had like 3/4 of the way done, I think maybe. And then you said, "Okay, obviously go write the rest of it." And so I went and did that. In the meantime, things in the world changed, but got worse at the same time.
Yeah.
So, which is kind of amazing how that's happened. So in terms of collaboration, it was just, I'm writing the book, and then, sort of throwing it in his direction, saying, what do you think? Strong points. We go back and forth, on things that could be brought out more, where to make the script stronger, and sort of talking about the overall world. He and I have had a lot of conversations about the bigger world that aren't in the book per se, but I've got a world, I'm not gonna say Bible because I'm not Christian, but large tome of world stuff of lore that I really want to do more stuff with. I mean, I've got oodles of stuff I want to do with. So we've talked about, how to work some of the things in. I'm like, can I put this in? He's like, no, don't put it now, but maybe later. So doing things like that. So it's been really fun going back and forth.
James, do you have anything to add there in terms of the collaboration or disagree with?
No, Kirsten's the genius behind I Am Hexed. I just kind of like help as we go along. I think just like keeping the message clear for the first 4 issues, and like we have hopefully the opportunity and like the excitement to build out the world more. So like that's always an opportunity. Always want to do more. Love I Am Hexed. Love it.
Sorry to interrupt with the interview, but there's been a couple of questions about what's going on behind Pete. Pete, do you have a cat back there?
Sorry. Don't mean to be pulling focus here. Yeah.
All right, that's all right. That's just new. That hasn't happened on the show yet. So,
fair warning, I have 3 cats and a
dog. I saw a
and
cat in your background as well, so I thought it was cool.
Man, I
So
feel like I should.
I've got a Bengal here, and one of them has stolen the dog's bed upstairs. So God only knows when they're going to wander through the frame. So be warned.
James, I apologize. I meant to send you a cat before.
I have no cats. I don't even have a house plant because they die. I kill everything. So no cats have died. I just have never owned one. So
There we go.
Well, I keep telling you to come visit, and you can like, hang out with the cats. You know,
It's very hard to visit now, unfortunately.
I know. Well, it's hard anyway because you live on the East Coast. But
I know we're like. Yeah.
Let's talk about the Kickstarter approach a little bit because everybody uses it differently. You've been using it for individual issues going through issue number 3 here. What's your experience been like with that, particularly because some people will say, oh, I want to wait until, and we've had a lot of interviews about this, but some people say, oh, I want to wait until I have the whole series done, or we're going to collect it as a graphic novel, or we're going to do this or that, or we don't have anything done. So generally, what is your take on it? What has worked for you? Because clearly, at least 3 issues in, so far it seems to be working.
I mean, I think the first time we did it was just like, let's see if the audience is there, basically. So we're testing the waters like with the initial issue 1, which I think is always a good way to kind of go forward. And then we just found success and a lot of great response to sort of like a rollout of individual issues, and we get more opportunities to have different rewards and like have different artists and queer artists and women, and that's really I think the big driving force behind this story and just the approach to it, because it's just been such a lovely experience of like bringing more voices in and more interpretations. And I don't know, I get kind of like emotional talking about it because I think it's kind of personal, like it's because of what's happening in the world. I think it's like, and personally, I think it's such a strong story and such a strong message. So that's my very schmaltzy answer.
I do feel, just to make sure that I'm not setting you up or anything, I do feel this is a very unique take, but I think since we first talked about I Am Hexed, there's been a lot of other books that have popped up that have had different unique takes on magic, where it almost feels like a mini trend right now. Do you see yourselves as part of that? Have you noticed that trend at all, and why, if so, do you think it's happening right now?
So personally, I think there's a witch show, I think it's Coven or whatever it is. I can never remember the name of it because I didn't want to watch something that was sort of tied politically into magic at all, because I didn't want to influence future arcs, because I think at the time the show was coming out, James and I were talking about, well, what if we were able to do another arc? What would that involve? I was like, well, this cool show's coming out. I don't want to watch it at all. I don't want to be influenced at all by it.
Smart.
Yeah, because it sounds like a cool take. I'm like, no, this is my own world. It has its own feel, and it's not. I think some are a little more gritty, and certainly this is influenced by real world events. It's not, fluffy bunnies and plush animals, frolicking through fields or anything. But there is a little bit of there is danger, but there's also, I think, a little bit of softness to the magic, in the way I try to make it inclusive, like the glyphs, that are being used. It's not something where you wave a wand. It's not something where you have to say a word. It's something as long as you can draw it, and you have that inherent ability, you can be a witch, So that was one thing I really wanted to make sure was in there. It was like, because I was thinking about, witches of all different backgrounds, what's going to be kind of universal, create a language that's, even if you don't speak the same verbal language, you could speak the same magical language. And that was kind of important to me because I got my BA in linguistics, so I care a lot about words.
Nice.
Yeah, a really useful degree, as you can imagine.
Well, it's paying off.
Well, yeah, it's like, yeah, I'm writing for a living, so make my parents happy and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that there's certainly different takes, of witchcraft. There's been L.J. Smith's books, I think, got adapted to, the TV series, and then all the other takes. But I think each of them has its own niche and its own sort of flavor of magic. Like in I Am Hexed, having magic doesn't mean you can automatically fix things. Like if you have a medical condition, you're not magically healed. Florence uses a wheelchair. She uses a cane, but she is a powerful witch. It's like, but she also uses her magic to sort of supplement her assistive devices, or she uses it in her science. So the science she's doing is imbued with that extra little kick of magic, so things will work a little differently. And sometimes, as you see in the book, things don't always work the way she predicted with the scientific method, and you just roll with it, So that's what you can do.
Cool.
No, not to get too dark or anything, but take a little bit of a step back. You said, obviously, like everybody else, pandemic and the current state that we're in is certainly affecting workflow and the way that you're getting things out.
Yeah.
I only ask this because I've actually been getting a bunch of people in the past couple of days writing me about, I feel the doldrums, I can't write anything about productivity is way down, what do I do? So how... From the perspective of I Am Hexed in particular, how are you tackling that? Are you pushing through that? What are your hot tips?
Well, for one thing, the first 4 issues are written, which is a big help.
That does help, absolutely.
Yes.
They're
Being done.
It makes it a lot easier, I found. But I am, as James I'm sure will attest, I'm always writing something, and I may be, DMing him or texting him saying, hey, I have this idea, or I'll message our letter to Pilar Esposito, who's lovely, and he gets to suffer through me saying, I have this off-the-wall idea. And he goes, yeah, it makes sense, or what? He's very nice about it, but kind of, Kirsten, what are you doing? So I'm always writing, and if I like to bounce between things. I like to have a couple projects. I've got a project I'm editing right now. I'm in revisions hell with it, to be polite, and it's going, but it's going slowly. So I have a project I'm outlining, and then I have something else I'm sort of noodling on. So I think if you have the different things you can work on, then it's easier than feeling like a complete failure because you didn't write 1,500 words in one day because there's a pandemic, and you're worried about the world. So I just think having that flexibility, and then having days where you just lay down flat and look at your ceiling and say, wow, there really are spiders up there, or whatever. Not beating yourself up over that, at least for me.
James, what about you? You have any hot quarantine pandemic?
Lots of
tips?
crying in the corner and panicking. No, I don't know. I think I'm like Kirsten. I'm like a workaholic. I like to stay busy. I like to keep moving. So I have like a bunch of different freelance editing comic book stuff that I'm working on with different creators. I'm working on I Am Hexed, which is almost like the Kickstarter is like a full-time job. And then I'm still doing like freelance work for 451. So I'm at home. I'm like just juggling. Like I think everyone's sort of, even if you're not finding work, you're stressed out and juggling with the stress. So I think that it's just an interesting time to be alive. The pandemic makes you both like very trapped in your own time, and then suddenly the day is gone again.
Yeah.
Very weird.
Yeah.
Very weird.
Yeah, I think the other thing is having, a schedule, even if it's just I will be up by 10 a.m. and sitting upright in front of a bowl of oatmeal, and I will try and take a walk today. For me, I go running, I take the dog for a walk. That helps keep you moving. It's like the dog needs to go for a walk. She needs to be run. Okay, you have to get out of the house, So having little things like that, I think, is great. Because you're like, oh, it's this time, and I can go, read a book now, or I should go write some words now.
Yeah, it's good to have like a routine or some sort of schedule to keep to. I don't try to like bust myself for when I don't do that, because then I'll lose a whole day and I'll feel really bad and cry again. Which I do a lot of crying. So
good.
Yeah. I think it's good. It's good. It's cathartic. It's good.
Okay.
But like
Pete,
anything.
do you want to try to make him cry on the
It won't take
I
much.
don't.
It won't take much.
Huh, all right.
Well, I could I don't know, we could queue up a episode of One Day at a Time. I can think of the exact
God, I
episode.
forgot about
I'll
it.
be bawling on the floor within 5 minutes.
I've been watching Leah Remini's Aftermath, the thing about Scientology. I'm almost done.
What?
Oh wow.
I'm obsessed with it. It's so, it's a cult and it's very upsetting. It makes me cry. Anyway, these poor people. These poor people. Watch it though. It's fascinating. It's upsetting and fascinating.
I've parked myself in historical Chinese and Korean dramas because there is no mention of anything related to pandemics.
Love it.
Plus, excessively pretty people flying through the air with swords. What's the downside of that?
I found animation helps. I've been watching a lot more animation.
Yeah.
I'm watching My Hero Academia and
Yeah, what are you watching, Pete?
Yeah.
She-Ra, it started the Last Airbender finally after Justin wouldn't shut up about it. So
Nice.
you
Oh my
haven't
God,
watched
so
it yet?
good.
yeah, it's been fun.
It's so good. I love that. I might watch that again.
Before we start to wrap up here, though, not to get away from TV time or anything, but back to I Am Hexed for a second. So you said that you have the 4th issue written, At the conclusion of the issue 3 Kickstarter, are you rolling it right into the issue 4 Kickstarter? Is there going to be a break? What's your schedule here?
There's always a little bit of a break because we do need to actually like do the third issue. We have to like draw it and get it printed and send it out to people. But the goal is not to have so much of a long break. We had a longer break between issue 2 and 3 because the world ended on us and it was very weird. And we weren't sure what was, so luckily, like now that we're kind of, nothing's back to normal. I'm not even going to say that. That's just a fallacy. But like now that we're kind of like able to figure out this new method, we can kind of bring the fourth one hopefully to life a little sooner than the third one. Unfortunately, it took a little longer.
Awesome. And even though you've successfully funded at this point, if people do want to go to I Am Hexed and support it on Kickstarter, should they just search for that? Is there a specific page that you want to send people to? What do you want to plug?
We made it so easy this time. If you type in IamHexed.com, you'll be redirected to the Kickstarter.
Amazing.
Nice.
Awesome.
Love it.
The most possible.
Folks, thank you so much for coming on. Congratulations again.
Yeah.
I'm very excited
Thank
to
you.
check it all out. Everybody should go read I Am Hexed. And stay safe out there. Enjoy
Great seeing
watching
you.
your
See you
Chinese
guys.
dramas and Scientology docs.
Oh, God. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
See you.
All right. There we go. So once again, that was James Emmett and Kirsten Thompson from I Am Hexed. You can check out their Kickstarter right now.
And it's a great book. Like, it's beautiful. It's really well done. It's very creative. It's a fun book to get involved with.
Yeah, absolutely. We're also still, of course, waiting for Justin here. I'm sure he'll be in the stream any moment now. Pete, what's your prediction? 10 minutes, 20 minutes, never?
It'll roll in like 5 minutes before we're done.
Yeah. Hey, so sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Fiddles with microphone.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. This is very inside baseball. Instead, we're going to bring in our next guest who we're very excited about here. As mentioned earlier, he is the writer behind Ice Cream Man from Image Comics.
Oh, man.
Pete is terrified to talk to him.
Yeah.
I don't think he's actually going to be the Ice Cream Man in
You don't
Flash
know.
or anything like
You
that.
don't know. What if he has the teeth and he's wearing? Oh my God.
Yeah, I think he's going to try to just do audio, actually, so you might not even get to see him. He might
That's probably
actually have a
better.
snake for a tongue or something like that.
Yeah, that's probably better for all of us.
We'll let him get all set up. W. Maxwell Prince slowly getting into the stream. Again, if you haven't checked out the book, I think we've talked about every single issue of this on our Stack podcast just because it's so freaking awesome. I'm sure we'll talk more about the concept of the book, but if you haven't, the idea... Well, I actually kind of want to hear...
Yeah,
I kind of want
exactly.
to hear him
Yeah,
describe the idea.
I was excited to hear you try to sum it up.
Yes.
It's hard.
While he is getting sub here, John Dorsey on YouTube says, is there a sample of the art or a page or two anywhere that you guys know of? Yes, if you go to IamHexed.com, they have a whole video and some art there.
Yeah.
If you're wondering about Ice Cream Man, tons of stuff online. Just do a search for Ice Cream Man.
Yeah,
Image
or just
Comics.
close your eyes and think of the scariest Ice Cream Man possible, and that's it.
Yes. Oh, he says, I think I'm here. I hit yes. Hold on. We're going to figure out some tech stuff. Pete, talk about your day while I figure this out.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll give you guys a little show here. There's my little. Oh, yay! It's my new cat. And her name is Nausicaa, and it's yeah. I'm new to having a cat, so it's very a little weird. I'm used to dogs. She kind of runs the house, which I guess is all right. But yeah, doing the best as I can as a cat dad, living that cat dad life.
Oh, cat dad life.
Yeah, and
Wait, sorry. I was concentrating on some tech stuff. What's the name of the cat?
Nausicaa,
Nausicaa.
of the Valley of the Wind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. W. Maxwell Prince says he's going to try to quit the app and start again. So in the meantime, I know this is kind of jumping ahead a little bit. You want to try to get to a couple of questions or something, Pete?
Sure.
Oh, wait.
Hey.
Oh, there we
There
go.
we go. That works.
Hey.
Hello. Sorry you're on video. You just wanted to do audio. How are you doing?
It's all right. I showered today, so
Okay, you look amazing.
Congratulations.
thanks.
Thanks so much for jumping on the show. At some point, our third host, Justin, might jump in. He got held up on a work call. But as we said in the intro, we have talked incessantly about every single issue of Ice Cream Man. It is absolutely one of our favorite books here on the show. I kind of want to start, and this might be an impossible question to answer, but what is your pitch for Ice Cream Man? Like, what is the log line?
Well, first of all, thank you for paying attention to us at all. Yeah, man, I don't know. This, especially at this point, kind of started as one thing. It is an excuse to tell any kind of story that I want. My friend describes it as a storytelling engine. It is really just a way that you can kind of graft what you're thinking about or what's bumming you out or what you're concerned with into kind of comic book format. But like, you know, it centers, the idea is that it's a series of one-shot stories. So each comic is self-contained in its own kind of 24 to 28 page short story. And the only thing that connects the issues is the reoccurrence or the reappearance of this weird kind of devilish ice cream man.
Right. And the
the
guy in the cowboy hat.
Yeah. So we kind of filled out the mythology a little bit over time, and so not only is he just the connective tissue, he also kind of has his own little backstory and his own world that he comes from, which is we tease at it and we address it somewhat, but the idea is to never fully kind of show our hand there.
I would like to just, sorry, Alex. I would just like
No,
to
go
quickly
ahead.
address
Pete,
something
you're
you
clearly
said.
Very excited to.
I'm very excited. I've got questions for days. So I just want to say, like you said, thanks for paying attention to us, but you kind of gave us no choice. Like, we have been reading comic books for years, and this book really stands out, and it's very unique and very creepy. And every time you pick up an issue, it's exciting because you have no idea where it's going to take you or like how it's going to kind of get in your head and stay there for a while. You kind of talked about short stories and like being their own thing, but like, did you just say like, I'm going to push it each issue? Like I'm going to try to have like a theme and really push it out? Or like, I mean, I see some creepy tattoos. Were they inspirational? Like, where did you?
Yeah, this is people tend to like this one. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it. It's like an android taking his face off.
Oh, what? Wow.
Well, so one quick question. I see in the comments below some people asking questions. Do I address those at all, or should I talk to you guys and then we'll kind of get to people's questions?
Talk to us and then we'll go back and I'll kind of look through the questions and we can see what we can get to there.
Cool.
We're the people asking the questions here. Right?
And I'm it looks like I'm under an interrogation light, so it's perfect.
Yeah, exactly. It seems about right. Now you know how we feel a little bit.
Yeah, so I have what I like to call storytelling ADD. I get bored with my own writing and the task of writing sometimes very quickly. And so a way that I've learned as a writer to kind of keep myself disciplined and to keep myself writing, except as you guys talked about with your last guest, it's a little bit harder now to stay disciplined. But I present myself with a problem to solve. And over time, the problems to solve became more and more complicated. So it's, hey, it started as, could you do a silent issue with, 3 tiers of storytelling that all kind of sync up with each other and play off of each other. And that was, it's as people who read or create comics know, these are storytelling challenges. They're also production challenges. They're coordination challenges with your creative team. I got a little bit of a buzz. I don't know if now it's gone. And then, the problems, the challenges that I gave myself started to kind of grow and evolve. It's what if you tried to make an issue that you could read forwards and backwards and it was the same story? So that was it's really just a lot of it is kind of selfishly like trying to get myself to sit down and put a concerted effort toward writing, because it is otherwise very hard for me.
Well, to that point, and I'll just give a little bit more background, as you mentioned, to anybody who hasn't read the book yet. But like you said, every issue is kind of its own thing. There's occasionally some overarching story elements, but you do have these really crisp, clear ideas, like a palindrome issue, or there was the Ghosts issue a few issues back that was almost a ghost story, but not exactly a ghost story, but it was told in the style of an old ghost story. Or I think actually the last issue was pretty clear in terms of essentially being 3 parodies, very dark parodies of kids' books. So all of them are very meticulously structured. Clearly that's a writing challenge for you, but how does that work with the artist, with Martin Morazzo? Because everything is so intricately laid out on the page at the same time.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, our creative team is Martin Morazzo from Argentina, and also Chris O'Halloran from Ireland. And it's kind of there are a couple lines of attack to that question. One thing about collaboration in comics is that if you work with a creative team long enough, you guys kind of all start to speak the same language. So even with like crazy ideas that I might have now, I have to explain myself a lot less to my collaborators than I used to.
Sure.
Because we've kind of all have that mind meld thing going on, and so it's just a lot less work to be like, oh, like what if we did this? But that said, I'm a terrible artist. I draw stick figures exclusively. But I draw everything out. I like to make these. So for the palindrome issue, for example, I actually drew the whole issue with the panel setups in terrible, like sloppy stick figures and stuff. But because we sort of have tapped into each other's brains, like Martin got what I was trying to show him in both the script and this kind of supplemental draw. Just calling it a drawing is being generous, but the stuff that I gave him to try to make the issue with, he understood. So it's like I send a lot of reference. I do a lot of my own little drawings. For certain issues, I have a very clear vision of how to kind of achieve this thing that we're going for. For other ones, I kind of pose a question like, oh, like how do you think we could pull this off? And then sometimes the answer is, here's how to do it. And sometimes like it becomes clear that like it's a bad idea. We shouldn't try to do something. I was going to try to do a Rubik's Cube story.
Oh, wow.
Where each page's panels could be reassembled to tell a different story. And then you could kind of solve the issue over time. And so and they will all be colored differently. It sounds really cool and impressive. We just couldn't figure out how to do it. But yeah, so there's an open discussion, and then I also just kind of, oh, look, the dude came.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, that's terrifying. This is Justin, our other co-host, who is holding shears towards our guest.
But were you mid-sentence there? I didn't want to cut you off to what you were saying.
I was trying to be surprising and terrifying.
It worked.
Yeah.
I also tend to like go on. So if I start to say the same thing over again, just be like, Will, we get it. My name's So I write under W. Maxwell Prince, but my real name is William Prince. My friends call me Will, but I can't write under William Prince because all you get if you try to Google that is Prince William. So I use my first initial and my middle name. Anyhow, yeah. So it's a lot of like supplemental drawings and stuff, and little bits of reference and stuff like that to help Martin draw a weird, challenging structural issue.
Cool.
I'm curious to hear about the inspiration of the Ice Cream Man himself. Was that just the idea of taking something that should be sweet and innocent and pure and darkening it up a bit? Was there?
Did you have a bad experience as a kid with an Ice Cream Man? Like,
You're
what happened?
You're terrifying us all when it comes to ice cream. in general.
I only have good experiences with Ice Cream Man because they give you ice cream, which is
Right.
there's
Yeah.
pretty much no losing.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the HBO show High Maintenance.
Yes.
Anybody watches it, but for those that don't, it started as a web series, and then HBO bought it and kind of created it and turned it into this longer form anthology series. But the idea is that is my camera not? The idea is that it has these kind of zoom ins on people that live in New York City specifically, and it'll be like 15 minutes that you spend with this person and their lives. And then there'll be like another little 15-minute short. And the only thing that kind of connects all of these stories besides them occurring in New York is that they all have the same weed dealer.
Yeah.
And
Delivery guy. Yeah.
Yeah. And the weed dealer
Right.
kind of, the guy, although they gave his name his name is Rufus.
I know. I sort of felt sad that they revealed that, but
yeah.
what can you do?
So I had all these short stories I wanted to tell, and I wasn't sure how to come up with an excuse to kind of tell them all under the same umbrella. So I looked at High Maintenance as a touchstone. I was like, well, can I come up with someone or something that would be a good kind of connective tissue? And a lot of it was just like, especially most of the stories take place in the suburbs, which is where I grew up, suburbs of New Jersey specifically. I tried to think of like suburban fixtures that would be an appropriate sort of way to blend all these stories together, and just a lot of thinking and doodling in my notebook. I somehow came upon an Ice Cream Man, and I think just the idea of that lent itself to its own kind of creepiness. There is something inherently creepy about Ice Cream Men, just in that we kind of you teach kids, like one of the cliches that you teach kids is don't take candy from strangers.
Right. But ice cream. Yeah.
He's playing a song, so he's inherently trustworthy.
So yeah, there's this weird kind of friction there. But yeah, so I don't have a great answer as to how I landed on him, but it just kind of he presented himself as he tends to.
Oh man, that's creepy.
One of the things that I think has been kind of fascinating about the arc of the book, and you touched on this a little bit earlier, but several people in the comments have called out Tales from the Crypt. And I think the way that it started, certainly there were bigger themes present in each of the issues, but it was very much these like done in one horror tales. But as it's gone on, and now we're on issue 20, I think you've much more dug into individual tales that sometimes don't even have like straight up grotesque elements. They just have themes of loneliness, of isolation, of loss, of the end of life. Why is that? Why that direction? Is that because you feel more free to write those stories now that you feel more comfortable with the book, or how'd you hit on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think as an adult, that's the kind of stuff I've found myself most interested in. I set out early on to make the book a book about suffering and different ways in which people suffer. That doesn't have to be, the kind of typical kind of horror sort of suffering where someone's killing you and you're in pain. But the kind of suffering that we all feel day to day is a very, in its way, is its own kind of horror, and it's something that I feel like people don't talk about enough, and that isn't really addressed in comics fiction enough. It's something that kind of in literary fiction and in more typical prose kind of is the meat of most of that stuff, but it's not always covered in comics. Not to say that it never has been, but it's often put aside in favor of other subjects. So yeah, it's so my secret is that I don't know anything about horror. I don't
Wow.
read horror. I don't watch horror movies. I hate being scared.
Wow.
So you just wanted to scare all of us, and just so you're like not scared, but you're like,
In the same way an ice cream man hates ice cream, you don't like being scared, so you terrify us all.
But so I think, like this natural horror has come out in trying to address things like loneliness, things like mental
Health.
mental health, mental breakdowns. Yeah. So I don't know. It's where my mind always goes. When you get into comics, people are like, oh, like, do you want to write for the big two someday? And my kind of line has always been, I could never write a good Batman story. That's not in my wheelhouse as a writer, but I could write a pretty good story about Batman's sad neighbor.
The undiscovered country.
Man, his house is so big.
Yeah, the lady that lives downhill from Wayne Manor. So so yeah, that's just it's kind of how I'm wired, and it's what I'm interested in.
I had one question real quick.
Ahead,
Sorry to jump in, Alex. The way you blend the humor and horror, I think really, I hope you haven't already talked about this, but it really elevates, I feel like, both sides of that. The comedic moments feel so fun and light, while the horror feels ever darker because it's right after a funny moment, or it's like part of that. Is that, how intentional is that? And since you're saying you don't really come to horror from a horror background, what's your take on comedy?
Yeah, so I'm not a comedian by any means, but I love comedy. It's probably my favorite genre of, at the very least, television show. But I'd say my favorite writers, especially in kind of traditional fiction, all kind of have this weird mixture of gravitas and comedy or levity or something scatological. Even like there's this dirtiness and quick-wittedness alongside this more serious stuff. And so I think just from, and this people like Dennis Johnson, George Saunders is a big one. Short story writer. Anyone listening who hasn't read him, go buy everything and read it.
Especially Saunders' earlier stuff, I feel like was so much edges toward like big jokes and then like dark side underneath, like Pastoralia and all of that stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, very well. So it's those kind of influences kind of made their way into when I was forming myself as a writer. And a lot of that is also just kind of like a sort of self-check. You kind of go down this hole and things start to get in a script, let's say, pretty depressing. And so a lot of it is like, trying to bring myself back up out of that and be like, I'm kind of bumming myself out. Like, let's pepper in something a little bit more lighthearted on this next page, because otherwise I don't think I'm going to make it to the page after that.
Well, on that note, we have a couple of questions here. This is one from Mike Beneke. It says, do you have relatives who worry about you creating such a twisted comic?
Yes. My wife, like, so in my day-to-day life, I'm a pretty like goofy, happy person.
No.
So she's, she doesn't actually read all of the issues. She's not really a comics reader, but she'll, certain ones that I'm particularly proud of, she'll pick up and she'll kind of finish and look at me and go, wait, what? Where is this coming from? And also I'd say my mom too. She's, I did get like so I put out this year when COVID started, we kind of started this website called quarantinecomics.com.
Yes.
And it told these little, every week the Ice Cream Man creative team released these little mini comics, 4 pages or so, that were in the world of Ice Cream Man. And my mom read every single one of them, and I got a lot of "Are you okay?" texts. So some people that are worried, but I tell them it's all in the name of good fiction. So
I think you kind of answered this one from Josh. Where did the idea of Ice Cream Man as a nexus point come from? But I am curious, kind of bouncing off of that, do you see all of the Ice Cream Man stories as taking place in the same universe? Are they parallel universes? Does it not matter at all?
Well, so I don't think those answers are all mutually exclusive.
Okay.
It doesn't matter at all, but it could if you wanted to. I saw the first, I want to say 16 issues as existing in kind of the same universe in comic book parlance. Let's call it Earth 1 or whatever. And then the 17th issue, I think it was 17th issue, was our take on our kind of also a parody on All-Star Superman #2. And even though it's never explicitly said, in my head, that was in kind of a sideways universe.
Awesome.
Where the Ice Cream Man is kind of grafting this comic book world onto reality, and it's kind of just his little playland. And some readers have gleaned that naturally, and others don't see it that way. And I honestly don't think it's all that important whether or not you think one way or the other. But in my head, they mostly take place in the same universe, and then there are these little kind of sideways stories where the Ice Cream Man is kind of pushing on reality a little bit and having his little fun.
Wow.
Ben the Border Collie wants to know, can you say anything about the TV show? Should we expect a similar one-shot sort of format?
Sure. So I can tell you very few things about the TV show because I try to stay as far away from it as possible. It's, as far as I know, still happening on the very popular streaming service called Quibi.
Yeah.
Everybody loves Quibi. Everybody watches Quibi.
No doubt.
Is a streaming success story, and we can't wait to tell stories on the platform.
We're actually swimming on Quibi right now, so that's very exciting.
Yeah.
Not really.
But yeah, no, it's the writers of the show and the showrunners, they're brothers, Adam and Max Reed. They do really love the book, and even though they get this kind of instruction from the corporate side of things, they're trying to stay true to it as much as possible. I don't know I think some of the episodes will be, and a Quibi episode is a whole other
Truth.
streaming, a whole other podcast to cover. But yeah, it's going to try to stay true to these kind of short stories, and then I think if the show is successful, it'll kind of open up and tell maybe some longer form kind of stuff.
Cool.
There was a kind of follow-up question over here on YouTube from Ramsey Hassan. Says, if Ice Cream Man was picked up as a TV show, which it was, who would you cast as the eponymous Ice Cream Man? Was there anybody that you had in mind? Were you picturing an actor, or are you now picturing an actor who might best encompass everything the Ice Cream Man means?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, right? You need the kind of right mix of this kind of everyday, kind of affable classic face, but then who could kind of turn on a dime and be really sinister. My ideas about it have changed a bit over time. I know the studio really wanted to do Jared Leto.
Oh, wow.
Which I thought he's almost too creepy in a way. Like, he doesn't have a lot of like, he can't bring it back to,
right.
that guy that you would like trust.
He only goes up. Yeah.
I forget the actor's name now, but he played Pete on Mad Men.
Oh, yes.
Vincent Catharsier?
That's him.
Yeah.
Wow.
I always thought he would actually be really great because he's got this kind of all-American look to him, but as shown in Mad Men, he's got like a dark side too.
Well, and I rarely get to brag about something like this, but I was in a movie where he played the creepy guy who is accused of murder. He's on that horror edge in that. It was a horror comedy as well.
Yeah, so there you go. He's but yeah, as with so many things in this show, the final decision is way above my pay grade. Well, that's not entirely true, but I know how to write comics. I'm not like a Hollywood guy, so when they're like, "Hey, do you want to do this? Do you want to do this?" I go, "Not really. Like, that's your guys' specialty. So why don't you Hollywood people do your Hollywood thing, and I'll keep writing my book. And if we could all come to an agreement someday, that'd be great.
Let's all have a party one night."
Exactly.
Do you have a not overarching plan for Ice Cream Man, but sort of, is it a going on forever book? Is it a 40 issue book? Where is it at in your head at this point?
Someone just said the lead from HBO, Perry Mason, Matthew Rhys, who's like one of my all-time
Love him.
favorite actors. So that would be great too. Anyway, back to the question. So we kind of, I don't know if how many of the listeners like read Image books or know much about the Image model. But Image is, as far as I'm concerned, the best place to publish comics. If you could get a comic published there, there's just so much freedom. But it's also, you're kind of in charge of your own destiny, and you can publish a book as long as it's, still supporting itself and supporting the creators, and everyone feels like they're getting compensated fairly. We have been very, very lucky that we've had, since basically issue 1, a very consistent readership. And our last issue 20, that kind of parody on kids' books, we were doubly lucky that it sold out and it's going to a second printing.
Nice.
So I was kind of ready to start to kind of dial things down. But it seems like we still have some legs here. And the great thing about Ice Cream Man is that, you could tell any kind of story in it. So I think we're at the very least going to number 24. I have a feeling we'll go to, we go in 4s, because every 4 issues is collected into a trade paperback. I have a feeling we'll be getting to number 28 too. We're gonna be taking a few months off. I have another book launching at Image that hasn't been announced yet. It's about clowns.
Oh man.
Okay. Checks out. Cool. Keep it cool.
I think it'll be announced in early October. That sounds right. But so I kind of, we have issues 21 and 22 coming out in the fall. And then we're going to take a small break, and then come back with 23 and 24 in the spring.
Cool.
So we're still going. And like I said, the nature of the title itself is that, as long as I have an idea for a story, I can pretty much tell it in this, via this brand or whatever.
Well, just you don't have to tell us anything about the clown thing, but if your mom reads it or your wife, do you think they'll be very concerned or not so concerned?
It's funny because every time I say clown, and because like Ice Cream Man has kind of gained this reputation as a horror book,
right.
People think a certain thing, but it is not like that. Not what you think. There are parts of it like that, but
okay, all right.
Just clowning around.
It's just sad, like most of it.
Okay,
Well,
I
I'll tell
I write
you.
sad comics.
My wife is, and this is true, she's actually an ex-circus clown, so I'll be judging this book very harshly.
Oh wow, wow.
There you go.
We have a story about an ex-circus clown. So
Whoa!
All right, I'll pass it her way. I'll let you know what she thinks. The next thing up after, first of all, everybody should go read issue 20, which is phenomenal, as you mentioned, in parody of The Giving Tree, Green Eggs and Ham, and Goodnight Moon, which is great and funny and
So
dark. Next up, though, there's a collection of the Quarantine comics that is coming out, right? Is that?
Yeah, so early September, all of those, and we had some guest creators come and make some little shorts too, and those will be in the collection as well. And half of proceeds go to Bink to help comic shops through COVID.
Awesome.
Oh, nice.
That's great.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Again, huge fans of the book. Very excited to chat with you about this. Congratulations on all the success. And can't wait to check out the Quippy show.
Yeah, thanks for freaking us out, man. It's been great.
Hey, thank you for having me, and thank you for supporting us. It's awesome.
We love it.
All right.
We'll
have
talk
a good
to you
day.
soon, man.
Cheers.
Good night.
Take care.
All right.
Wow.
There we go. Once
Wow.
again, W. Maxwell Prince, Ice Cream Man. Definitely check it out. I saw a bunch of people, particularly in the YouTube comments, have never read it before. The book is so good. And as he mentioned, it's up to issue 20. So there's 4 collections now, 5 coming soon.
It's a
great.
heck of a ride.
Truly, Favorite
ahead,
comic on the stack every time it comes out. Like love it. We've talked about it we talk about every issue on this show.
Yeah.
We have. It's great. I always want
Yeah.
to talk about it. It's so good. So very exciting. Awesome guest this week. Welcome, Justin. Please don't pull out those shears again. That was
That's too scary. You guys
It was
are
a little scary.
You guys are
Hot,
legitimately
How
scared.
can you hot like that? Come on.
Well, I was working late, and then I was setting up, and I turned around. And I was like, "Oh, the shears have been in the window all this time," and I grabbed them impulsively. And then when my face came up, I scared myself a little bit. But I thought it would be
Method actor.
Yeah, I thought it would be less scary, I guess.
Yeah.
You guys seem
turns out-
legitimately terrified.
You're in a creepy ass basement.
Yeah, it's terrifying. But you know what's not terrifying, actually, is my favorite part of the show. Stop it.
Stop that. What are you? That's like
Somehow those are going to come through the I think it's the face. It's the face
the
that's
face he's
bothering me.
making.
Oh, it's the face.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's the face that's
The
terrible.
beard doesn't help anything either.
All right. Now it's time for your audience questions. And for that, I see a bunch of you have already been dropping your questions here at Ask a Question on Crowdcast. If you are over on YouTube, just drop it in the comments. I am keeping one eye on that. So we'll get to those in a moment. But let's kick it off one here. This is from Ben the Border Collie. This is a LinkedIn type question for Alex. Are you ever going to open my gift in Pokemon Go? Listen, Ben.
Wow, called out, lit up.
I'll tell you what. I know you can play Pokemon Go from your couch now. Seems kind of lame to me, but I stopped playing Pokemon Go a while ago. I picked up Wizards Unite when that came up. I got kind of bored of that, and then I was like, you know what? It's nice to be forced to go on walks places by these apps, but it's becoming too much of an obligation, and I'm spending too much time away from my family catching Pokemon and Wizards, so I'm going to stop. So the answer is I'm never going to open your gift, but if you want to be friends with my wife, let me know, and I'll send you your number.
Wow.
Alex, that gift is like Courtney Whitmore's gift on Stargirl to her father, and you refuse to open.
Oh, man. That's sad.
Nice.
Here we go. This is from Scott Carpenter. With learning at home being common right now, is there a place for educational comics? What are some examples? That's a very good question. The first one that comes to my mind is Fred Van Lente and Ryan Dunleavy's comic book history comics. They did Action Presidents, Action Philosophers. My daughter, she's 10 years old now. She read Action Presidents and she loves it. Action Philosophers, she wasn't quite as into. And comic book history of comics is also great, but probably skews a little older than both of those. But those are really good. Do you guys have any suggestions?
From the comments, Mike Benecke with Understanding Comics, which is great. That's definitely not for kids, but if you want some adult education on the comic book biz, that's a good one. Otherwise, though, I don't know. We don't actually cover a lot of educational comics in our lives here.
Well, Ice Cream Man teaches you to stay away from Ice Cream Man.
Yeah, that's true.
That's good. Good lesson.
Yeah.
Yes.
Keep learning it.
All right, here we go. From Eduardo, inspired by the cat next to Pete that seems to replace Justin. What are some of your favorite animals in comics? Justin, did you know that Pete has a new kitty cat?
I heard about it. As I was finishing work, I was seeing things light up in the Slack channel. And what's the cat's name? Is the name Justin or JT Sizzle or
No.
what's the deal?
No.
What's the cat's name? Did you already say?
Yeah, I did.
You're not going to tell me?
Yeah, why don't you go back listen to the show? You know.
Oh my God, it's Nausicaa or whatever the name is.
Nausicaa, man.
Nausicaa.
Nausicaa.
Valley of the Wind.
Sorry, man.
Wow.
I'm not as big of a Miyazaki head as you, Pete.
Wow, what a punishing name for a cat. Pete, as long as you don't Jedi marry this animal, I'm comfortable. Comfortable with my role.
Because we're Jedi married?
I don't know, Pete. There's been a lot of changes in your life that I'm starting to feel like you're trying to get away from Alex and I, and I'm worried about it.
Okay.
I don't know if this is a question necessarily, but from John Dorsey over on YouTube, people talk about how the sky is falling in the comic book industry. I say, no, it isn't. Not when you have channels for talented creators to get their work out there. We will always want that. So yeah, more of a statement than a question, but certainly there's been a lot of talk about that this week. There were some awful layoffs at AT&T, at Warner Brothers that trickled down to DC Comics and DC Universe. Reportedly, maybe DC Collectibles was cut entirely. So there's a lot of people that are saying, well, that's it for comics, which I agree. I think you got to look at that in the broader expanse of AT&T and Warner Brothers aren't doing great. They had to make cuts somewhere. There were, I think, over 1,000 people were cut across the board from Warner Brothers. So of course that's going to hit DC Comics. But what do you guys think? Is this the end of the comic book industry?
Great question. Think of all the times we've answered that over the years. No, I don't. I do think across the world, especially in the United States, it's a time of contraction. Everyone is panicked. There's not a lot of understanding of how anything is working. The world is very stressful. And so everything's contracting a little bit. And then once we emerge from this, I think it'll expand back out as it does. I mean, comic books are wildly popular. It's the source of IP for everything now. So it's not like we're losing that. It will continue to be that. And there are success stories out there despite all of the bad news.
Well, and I think something that does get lost in the discussion, to call back on our guest earlier in the show, actually all of our guests earlier in the show, is saying, oh no, there were cuts at DC Comics, which is terrible. And we know and have interviewed and hung out with some of those people, and it's awful when somebody loses a job, but a lot of people losing their job at DC Comics doesn't mean the end of comics. There is also Image Comics, which is doing well. There are Kickstarter comics. There are Random House and Penguin and Yen Press and all sorts of other places that are publishing comic books. So just because there are cuts at what is called, of course, but like you're saying, Justin, things are being affected across the board. There are many other avenues to get these things out there, so it's not going to die as an art form.
Yeah.
So there you go. We solved it. This is from I Love Cyclops. Of the characters in the movie's TV.
That's not.
That's what it says on here. I'm just reading.
That's a fine
Boo,
statement.
Joe Crack. Boo.
Yeah. Wow. Of the characters in the movie's TV, which do you wish were more like their comic counterparts or vice versa? I wish MCU Star-Lord was more like pre-movie Star-Lord, but I wish comic Carol Danvers was more like movie Carol Danvers.
Oh, interesting.
What do you think?
I mean, I'm glad. It seemed like comics, had Nick Fury, and then we transitioned into Samuel L. Jackson Nick Fury, which has been glorious.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say Palmer Eldrick in the comments here says Lucifer. And I know you love Lucifer, Pete, but that was one of the things that put me off of the show initially, is I watched it and thought,
how dare you?
This is a procedural that has nothing to do with the comic books whatsoever. I'm going to move on and watch other things.
Wow.
I think I feel like it's not always like you can take something that's great and then say, okay, if you love this, maybe you'll love this, and try something. Use the comic as a springboard. You don't have to copy exactly. I mean, it's a gamble, but I felt like for me, it was the reverse. I went and checked. Lucifer wasn't really on my pull list, but once I kind of got into the show, I started checking out the comic more.
Yeah, that's a good call. I mean, was Tony Stark in the question? So I sort of missed it, but I think that's I think that's a great example of the movie character becoming the comic book character for the better.
Yeah. Let's move back to YouTube here. Nelson Martinez says, thanks, Alex, for recommending Avatar: The Last Airbender. Been binging all day. What bender would you guys like to be and why? Earth, water, air, or fire? Did you recommend it? I mean, I think both of us recommended it, right?
Well,
Justin?
you recommended it like a month ago. I was watching it at the original run, motherfucker.
Yeah, he's been repping. He's been repping it for years.
Hold on, man. I've been repping it for years too. I've been repping it for years too. All right.
No way.
No.
Yes, absolutely. I produced an after show for Korra, man. So I'm like,
Korra's even late. Korra's late.
Oh, shut up.
You're coming in on Korra time. I'm back in the Ridge. I'm in the Ridge.
Whatever, man.
I just very slightly shook my head and you called me out. So that's on you. That's on you.
All right.
And I love Korra. I love Cyclops. I'm not knocking Korra. I'm just saying to come in as a Korra head as your cred. There's a generation before.
All I'm saying, I produced the official Korra after show, so whatever, man.
And I didn't even know that. That's cool.
Yeah, it was cool. It was
Well,
really
why don't
fun.
you flex about some more jobs that you've had? You know,
Here's
You
what I don't
covered
understand.
MTV,
I wanted to bring this up.
covered-
I've been thinking about this all week. Every time I bring up something that I've done, Pete, you're like, oh, flex, flex, flex. Justin brings up something about his job, and you're like, that's very cool.
Well, two different sides of the old coin. Relationships are weird. What kind of bender would I want to be? I mean, I gotta go earthbender.
Yeah. I think that's the one, right? Like, it just seems more versatile, and you can do more stuff with it. Fire's too aggressive.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, but fire with the lightning, like there's a lot of fire development.
Sure.
I mean, I think airbending is the most fun, and that's why like it's where we start. It's the most like innocent, childlike, flying around stuff. And then water, sort of a little bit more zen, a little bit more like thoughtful.
Yeah. I mean, I would say water just because in life I would like to try to be more fluid, you know. But I feel like earth is a better power.
You would be a great vodka bender.
Oh,
You're
is
on a
that the
vodka
question?
bender.
What kind
You're
of
on a-
bender do you want to go on? I want to go on a vodka bender. I want to go on a malt liquor bender. Oh, yeah, man.
That last 10 seconds is us all trying to make the same joke at the same time, and I
Yeah.
appreciate it. We were joke bending all at once right there.
Oh, yeah.
This is from Edward Doherty. Who would win in a fight between the three? What are these questions? Sorry.
A fight between
Who
the
would
three
win
of
in a
us?
fight between the three of you? Can you provide explicit examples of the weakness you would attack in your other host? I love that
Wow.
we started like 14 years ago with, hey, who would win in a fight? Hulk or Captain America? Now it's like, I want to watch you fucking
Yeah.
kill each other.
Fight each other. You punch him first.
But
then the
this
next
question
one.
comes up every couple of years. It does come back around, I feel like.
I mean, well, let me just say I'm the youngest and the tallest, so I have a couple inches on you guys and a couple years.
Does
So I think I'm
does
ready
not
to
matter.
get dirty. What's that?
No way. That does not matter.
I mean, Pete, I'm sure you have an explicit plan, but I just want to mention I found some exercise equipment in the park today, and I did a couple of chin-ups.
Wow. Nice job, man. You were able
Hold
to
up.
pull yourself all the way up? Really?
Yeah,
Hold up
all
a
the way
second.
up.
No
You
way.
found some exercise equipment in the park? What's up with you?
Well, he's
What are you
not playing
doing?
Pokemon Go, so he's actually looking around.
Yeah, so I gotta actually look for stuff. No, there was my kids and I. We took a walk around Sunset Park. We live a block away from Sunset Park now, and there's this weird setup there where it's like, I guess, encouraging people to exercise. So they have this art
Yeah,
installation
they have little.
that's also
yeah, along the way.
exercise stuff.
That's not weird. That's cool. That's nice that they're looking out for people. Like, hey, if you want to run around, here's little stations where you can do stuff.
Totally.
That's great. So you were like, hey, kid, chin ups. Me and you versus you. Let's
I
do this.
beat my daughter. She lost so bad.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Pete, what's your plan to take us down? Come on.
I would go for Justin first, and then take you down, Alex.
Why would you go after me first? Am I more of a
Because
threat?
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Nice. And Alex is going to be what? Trying to catch a wizard while you're killing me?
yeah. It's
This
gonna
is
be.
from. Oh, go ahead.
No.
I was just going to go over to the next question. Ramsey Hassan over at YouTube says, any thoughts on the New York Comic-Con news? So this is, in case you didn't hear it, New York Comic-Con, like a lot of other Comic-Cons, is officially going virtual. The thing that's different about it that I think is very good, and we talked about this, I think, on our Week in Geek podcast, which we do for Patreon listeners a little bit, but I sort of noticed that New York Comic-Con folks and Repod folks seem to be very closely monitoring what was going on with Comic-Con at home and the criticisms of it. And one of the big criticisms that everybody had, certainly that I had, was that it wasn't actually live. Like, they pre-recorded the panels, which I understand, but then they rolled them out, So there's no impetus to watch them immediately. You could zoom through them. You could watch them at triple speed if you really want to. And there was no comments anywhere on anything. So there's no way of actually interacting. It seems like New York Comic Con is going to be doing it totally differently. They're teaming up with YouTube. So they were very explicit in the press release. There's Q&A for panels. You can comment. You can chat. They won't be rolling out everything live. I'm sure some of it will be faux live. It'll be pre-taped but rolled out as live. But they are actually doing it so it feels a little more immediate that way. And I got to say, like, again, I follow a couple of people from Repop. They were heartbroken today about having to do this, about having to not have the physical convention. But I appreciate the fact that they're not doing it live, that they're not putting people in danger, and they're trying to make the best live event they possibly can in very bad circumstances.
Yeah, it's tough, though, because I would like to see how a con does if you do try to do a live panel and have like a live feed that people can comment on. I don't know how horrible the comments would get or what it would be like, but you would hope, like a Comic-Con where people are very positive and supportive of each other, that would be the case. But, you know, what do I know?
That's what they're, just to interrupt, that's what they're doing. I mean, they're going to do them over Zoom, you know, or whatever software they're going to be using, and then they will have the chat going. So there are going to be things like we're doing right now where comments are coming in, questions are coming in, and a moderator is sifting through them and asking people. They're not saying every panel is going to be like that. I'm sure there will be some pre-tape stuff, but it seems like they're going to be doing a mix of all of that.
Were you just auditioning for that job right now? Is that what just happened there? You're just kind of
I mean, if anybody at Repop is watching, I mean, I'm not going to...
It felt like an audition.
No, I actually was not. But what's your take on it, Justin? How do you feel about this news?
No, I mean, I agree with you. I think it's a learning curve, like anything that we're all going through. Like, I feel like each live event is learning from the one before. Repop is a smart company in that they're really good at scaling up and down what they're working on, whether it's a smaller Comic-Con in a smaller city or their larger Comic-Cons. So I think they're going to learn from each situation and move forward in a good way. So I'm confident. They're always willing to innovate, and I'm confident they'll do a good job.
Yeah. Let's get another one here from over on Crowdcast. Kevin says, which Musketeer, Athos, Porthos, or Aramis, would each host be? And would you see Nat or someone else as the D'Artagnan?
Wow.
Nat is clearly Cardinal Richelieu.
We can't just go one show without talking about Nat.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, we can't go one show without talking about the fucking Three Musketeers? Come on!
I mean, it's pretty clear which each of us are, I would think.
Go for it.
Watch yourself, buddy.
Okay, I don't know how familiar you are with either the book or the mid-90s. The mid-90s Disney movie featuring Let's Make It All for One and All for Love. Landmark combination of male vocalists. I think it's Alex is Athos. Checks out. I'm Porthos and Pete's Aramis.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Great. I'm going to read up on this later and get very annoyed somehow.
Yeah.
No, there's no reason to be annoyed.
Question for Pete from John Dorsey. I need you to spell out why you hate Cyclops so much. I know he's not always written consistently well, but I think he's a good man.
Who the fuck said this?
Yeah, that's not...
John Dorsey.
Who the fuck said this?
Who the fuck? John Dorsey over on YouTube.
Okay, John, first off, hey, man, congratulations. You know, like, you're living your life. You feel things how you feel. That's good. I'm happy for you.
This is a normal question. There's no reason to be this angry.
Other people see things and react differently. I have a problem with authority. I have a problem with douchebags with cool shades who think they're better than people. Cyclops, to me, gives off this aura of, like, fuck you, you're going to do things my way. And he's not right. He's not right a lot of the times. I don't like the moves that he makes as the leader of the team. I just think that he's not my favorite character. And a lot of people, will point out how great he is, and it bothers me. I don't know. Sometimes characters come off like you hear their voice in their head, and it's a douchey voice that bothers me when he talks. So I don't know. Really, it's just not my favorite character, and I don't like the way he leads.
I have a theory.
Okay.
My theory on your hatred of Cyclops is you love Wolverine, and I feel like Wolverine was someone
I do love Wolverine.
You do love Wolverine, and you specifically identify with Wolverine, I think, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So I think
hairy guy, what's not to identify with?
That's what I'm saying. That's why you're obsessed with his height for some reason. The reason being that you are like you're taller than Wolverine, though. Let's be clear.
Sure, yeah.
But I do think that you have taken Wolverine's point of view into your own that it's made you hate Cyclops.
I can understand what you're saying, and there's definitely validity to that. But Cyclops could have won me over if maybe he was different. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just things that I bring to the character that aren't there or whatever. But yeah, Cyclops does not make good decisions, and nor does he think about his team.
I love Cyclops. Yeah, in the comments here, yet Wolverine loves Cyclops. He's his best friend. And in fact, they have sex now. So what do you think about that, Pete?
Hey, man, everybody's got to live their life, so I don't take that as real. They're on Sex Island. What happens there?
No,
they're on their moon.
Yeah, they're having sex on the moon.
Right, yeah, their own little moon base, yeah. Hey, man, some people like the new comics. Other people don't. Can't wait for it to be over. It's just that someone designed a cool logo and they went with an idea, and we got to ride this out,
Not what happened.
Yeah. Hey, guys, I made a new take on this X. Oh, what if Wolverine and Cyclops had sex on the moon? All right, well, we'll just kind of roll it from there and see what happens, I guess.
Yeah.
Great. All right. This is from Omnia Soul. What have the hosts been eating lately? Has Pete found any more good cheesesteak places? That's a great question, Pete. Have you been
sucking on a cheesesteak?
I felt it. I felt it in the air. I felt it in the air.
We got to get an audio clip of Beer Cat PhD's kids saying that as well. That was really funny.
Yeah.
That's a good call. I think we need to have a clip for sucking on each of our favorite foods.
Oh, yeah, nice,
Yeah.
Sucking
on a baked Alaska.
Yeah. I think Alex, yours would be sucking on a random potato chip.
I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
Yes, accurate.
Or a crazy flavored Oreo. So to answer the question, I'm
what
sorry.
Have you been eating?
I just
actually, let's start off. We forgot to talk about what we're drinking tonight.
Oh.
I can start. Mine's not that exciting. I'm drinking a Lagunitas Maximus.
Ooh.
IPA Maximus Ale. It's actually pretty good. It's very strong.
Yeah. Pete got the Bud Light. That's the kind of Bud Light that
tough times right now.
You just see those littered around like a train station, those Bud Light cans.
Yeah.
And I'm drinking a grapefruit IPA Grippa from Cisco Breweries out of Nantucket. Great beer. Hard to find, but great beer.
That sounds real good.
It's really good. I'll tell you what, Alex, I bought a bunch of it. I don't know how I will get it to you, but I would love to get it to you.
Thank you. I would love to try
that.
I'll
just suck on a cheesesteak.
Suck it on a grapefruit IPA.
Pete, do you like beers like this? I feel like you are a lighter beer man.
Well, I am a lighter beer man, but if it was free beer, I would definitely drink the shit out of it.
The ultimate flavor, free.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if that answered that question necessarily.
But I am going to see trying out different cheesesteaks, different places. A lot of people recommended different things. So I'm widening my net. I went to Ed's and Geno's. So yeah, I mean, it's fun to try. There are a lot of great cheesesteaks. There's a lot of great like banh mi sandwich shops too that I'm getting into. So
there you go.
Oh man, hey, you got to put yourself out there, Pete. Just try a bunch of things before you settle down with one cheesesteak for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
That's right. What I love about recommending a cheesesteak, it's like I've tried Ed's, I've tried Bill's, I tried Teddy P's, I tried Nicodemus's, I tried Wally. Squeeze Box's cheesesteaks, very good. It's just a series of nonsense names. These could be just people in their homes. It doesn't even have to be a restaurant.
Follow up on the X-Men question over here on YouTube. What are Justin and Alex's favorite X-Men? Wolverine for Pete, I'm guessing.
Nice.
I mean,
confirm?
Yeah,
deny?
it's clearly Wolverine.
X-23,
close second.
Yeah,
Nice.
mine's Cypher. So there you go.
Yep, no doubt about that. But do you have, Alex, quick follow-up before I answer, do you have a second favorite? And is it, if it's not Kitty Pryde, let's make it not Kitty Pryde and say someone else.
Bad. Okay.
Yeah.
So not
Give us the answer we haven't heard, for God's sake.
After Cypher and Kitty Pryde, probably Nightcrawler, actually.
Interesting.
I love Nightcrawler. Like, I was always a big fan of Nightcrawler from Excalibur. I love the swashbuckler Nightcrawler in particular. And the fact that I'm always very iffy about religion in comics because I think it's treated very badly, but there's been some very good stories with Nightcrawler grappling with his religion, which I think are fascinating, and it gives him layers as a character.
Yeah. I'm going to throw it out to, it's such a tough call. I want to say the first one in my head right now is Colossus.
Nice.
I also love a Cable. The Cable series from a couple years ago where he and Hope were traveling forward into the future with Bishop chasing them. Really, that iteration of Cable was so good. Also,
Now,
X-Man, the young Nate Summers.
Oh,
Great
okay. Yeah, I was going to
too.
ask if you liked anybody who doesn't have a metal arm with those bands inexplicably across them for some reason.
I guess I love a metal arm.
Winter Soldier.
Yep. The dude from the Executioner song from Strife Squad who had the metal arms for some reason. Basically any Rob Liefeld designed character.
Just back to the beer discussion. Recommendation from YouTube: Denver Beer Company Graham Cracker Porter.
Whoa.
Whoo.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Follow up on the question from earlier from Mike Bedeke. After canceling of DC Daily, layoffs of DC Universe staff, moving of DCU originals to other platforms, will my subscription to DCU be fulfilled through the end of the year? Oh, good question.
I mean, technically it will be. You paid for it.
In some way. You'll be transferred over to an HBO Max subscription properly. I'll tell you, as soon as news came out that they were switching from, they're not doing yearly subscriptions anymore. They're only doing monthly subscriptions. I wrote the folks at DC Universe to be like, hey, do you have any comment? Do you know what's going on about this? I'm not flexing. I'm giving information, Pete.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was stretching. I didn't understand.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Pete's always
so I wrote
stretching.
them, and they were very, they had a statement ready where they were like, hey, we're always looking to serve people with their DC Universe subscription, even when we've switched to monthly subscriptions, and we will keep you appraised of anything further.
Did you reply? Do you have a real answer to my question?
Just all caps answer me with Agritsuko from the Netflix show just going, like that.
That's journalism.
Yeah, that's how you do it. No, I mean, it was very clearly to speculate and be unjournalistic about it. It was very clear they don't know what the future of DC Universe is. Was asked the question, apparently a good chunk of the staff got laid off, which is awful.
They got some great stuff on there.
They got some great stuff on there. Part of the problem is and again, we talked about this a bit on the Week in Geek podcast. HBO Max was really soft in its launch, and AT&T was putting all of their chips out of the table for that. Warner Media by default was as well. And I think things just got cut. They got to figure out how to make it all work. And because they're all in on HBO Max, they can't have two streaming services going. That just doesn't make any sense.
Do you think the Snyder Cut
they're going to
will
end
save
up
them?
being push everything on HBO Max, try to make that as much of a success as possible. And honestly, I think HBO Max was doomed from the start as soon as they called it HBO Max. So I don't know if they're going to come back.
Oh, I don't know. That's a little unfair, I think. I think HBO Max just didn't have a good launch. They didn't have a big thing to launch with because of a bunch of factors. Coronavirus, they messed up their Game of Thrones moves.
Yeah.
The Friends the reunion or whatever didn't happen. So it's tough, but I think HBO Max is going to keep. It's not like it's in trouble. It's going to keep going. There's a lot of stuff on there. I mean, I just watched all of Search Party, and that's great. Really enjoyed
There's
that.
great stuff on there. Like,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. There's some really good shows. There's great movies. It's actually, as a streaming service, pretty fluid in terms of how it works. It's based on the HBO Now architecture, and they clearly improved it. But like the comment says here, why didn't WB just name it HBO Max, something related to Warner Brothers? Like, just call it WB Max or call it WB. They've had so many problems because they called it HBO Max because Roku and Fire Stick, which is 70% of the market, which is insane, won't put it on the service because they're like, no, it conflicts with our deals with HBO. If they had just called it anything else and not related to HBO, it wouldn't have been a problem. It'd be doing so much better right now.
Counterpoint to that, though, the
Yeah.
HBO is the brand. Like,
Yeah,
if they called it WB Max, it's going to be like the WB network from the 90s, where it's
Bring
gonna
back
be
Michigan J. Frog.
like, yeah, you've been
Come
pushing
on!
that. You've been pushing that frog agenda for years now. Alex, and it's
Hello,
not
my
gonna happen.
baby. Hello, my darling. Hello, my ragtime gal. Pete loves this, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
old timey
Great.
stuff.
You can tell he leans back and pets the cat when he's happy.
No, without getting too in the weeds, I agree with Edward Doherty's comment here, the damaging the HBO brand with this. That was kind of the point.
HBO brand is fine.
Disagree. Okay, Kevin says, in the vein of Ice Cream Man, who are your favorite host recurring characters from anthology titles?
Ooh,
Interesting.
getting into it.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. I'm having a hard time thinking of any comic book anthology titles at all.
Well,
I mean, obviously, like Tales from the Crypt came from comics and things, but
I think The Watcher is a fair answer there. The Watcher is
Ooh.
always jumping in to be like, look at this fucked up world.
Yeah.
And I love that.
I'm not going to interfere, but real quick, let's do this thing. Cain and Abel is a good answer from Sandman from The Dreaming.
Yep. Cain and Abel. Who's been sort of doing the DC Dark Multiverse? What's that dude's name? That person's name?
Tempest Fugit.
Yeah, that's the one that I think of recently as not a favorite, but is definitely doing that.
Yeah. Pete, you got one?
No,
Tales
I
from the
don't.
Punisher. I have a story to tell you. Here's when I killed a guy.
You're an asshole.
Yeah.
Microchip. Does he ever narrate any of that?
He narrated Punisher's war journals, right? Dear
Punisher's
diary.
on-
It's
Punisher's online live journal.
yes. Not to get back to this, but just to clarify for this question over here on YouTube, OG says, how does HBO Max conflict with HBO? Aren't they the same company? Not exactly. HBO is its own division. HBO Max is a separate creative division that was set up by Warner Brothers via AT&T, or actually vice versa, by AT&T via Warner Brothers. So HBO Max is developing shows entirely differently from HBO. So when you see things like Lovecraft Country is coming up, that's an HBO show, versus Raised by Wolves, which is the Ridley Scott show that's coming up, that's an HBO Max show. And they're entirely different people. Like HBO
show-
shows go to... What?
I was just gonna say that show looks crazy though. The Wrigley Scott show.
Yeah, it does look wild. I haven't had a chance to watch any of it yet, but it looks awesome. But yeah, they're two totally different arms, and I think like they're getting closer in terms of quality, but that's one of the problems, is that HBO has such a specific quality meter, and HBO Max just doesn't have that yet.
See, for me though, like not to keep, I feel like we're on opposite sides of this for whatever reason. Like for
fine.
me, it's like Netflix has its prestige shows and it also has its sort of trashy shows. Like HBO Max, it's fine by me that I get to watch all the HBO shows that I like, and also a bunch of other shows that I am like, oh, this is probably fun.
Yeah, I don't know why. I completely understand what you're saying. I don't think it's reasonable, but I realized as soon as they announced that it was HBO Max, HBO is one of those brands that I feel very precious about. And I know it's ludicrous.
I know, it's so funny. You feel so precious.
It is. It's ludicrous to be precious about a brand, but I do because I think there's this storied history behind it that, frankly, HBO Max is eroding as it goes. And AT&T very clearly has been trying to be like, HBO, be something else other than what you are. Stop only releasing 4 shows a year. Be Netflix. And they're like, we're not Netflix, we're HBO. And they're like, okay, fine, we'll do HBO Max. Now you're Netflix, which is aggravating to me. It's not reasonable in terms of business. Mostly I try to be reasonable in terms of business and understanding of things. But that's one thing that just bums me out. It's like going to the Metropolitan Museum of Art and being like, now you're an Arby's.
Wow. Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
You're an elitist. You're an elitist.
I am an elitist.
It's not
And I'll tell
TV,
you
it's
what.
HBO.
I'm an anti-elitist, Alex, and now I'm going to destroy you.
Related question on this from our business podcast, I guess, from Tom Tormney. How do you feel about Warner Media closing the doors on DC Direct? I don't know first of all, I'll mention, I don't know if that has been 100% confirmed by everybody. That was in a bunch of articles where they said, we believe DC Direct has been shuttered. And I haven't really seen any of the people from DC Direct tweeting about like, we were shut down, but it seems reasonable to think they are. What's your thoughts on that?
I don't know.
DC Direct is the collectibles. It's like the statues.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just don't. I'm not a collectibles guy. It's anytime anything's shuttered where there's a fan base is a bummer, obviously. But I don't know enough about it to know whether it was a good thing. If DC Direct is something that was like really excelling at it, and it's a shame that happened, or if it was just part of the corporate arm.
I know a lot of people who really love DC's like action figures and the stuff that they did because they did really great jobs with things and it was a high quality. And so like that's, I know way too many people who have like all the figures behind them and stuff like that. So it's sad to hear if that's actually true because a lot of people collected those things and took pride in it.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, Pete, I'm also not really a collectibles guy. Like, I don't pick up that stuff, but I've certainly interviewed those folks a bunch and seen a bunch of their stuff. And one of the things that's very cool about DC Direct that they do is they do artist lines. Like, they focus in on, here's a great Batman artist. Let's make a bunch of statues based on their art directly from the comics. And they did awesome work there. But versus the HBO discussion, without slagging off anybody's jobs, I could see, like, of course, the high quality, super expensive statues division is going to go first. Like we're in the middle of a pandemic and people aren't necessarily like, I want to drop a couple of $100 on this Dustin Nguyen Batman statue or anything like that. So
to be fair, they got rid of the caviar division first, and then they moved to DC Direct.
Yes, well, you'd have the caviar on the statues and just
yeah, exactly. You want Batman, black and white, holding a little teeny Osetra caviar on his hand.
Yeah. Over on YouTube, JPeeler999 says the Alex Ross painted plates they sold way back in the day were awesome. So yeah, there you go. It's great stuff. It's a bummer it's gone. Hopefully they figure out some way to keep those people employed. Question.
Yeah.
Folks, it's now time for trivia, and for that I'm going to turn it over to Pete LePage.
All right.
Pete LePage, the star of trivia.
All right. This part we give back to you, the lovely audience. And it looks like somebody put like a figure of a hand up, but we'll go with the next one down that actually says hand up just because I don't want to read their name tag out loud. So
that's fucked up.
Let's go with Mr. Moreland.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Oh, wait. Oh, hold on. I clicked the wrong thing. I almost deleted the message. Wait, I can't invite Adriel Moreland in, Pete.
Oh.
What do we do here? What do we do? I don't know. Oh, and Justin's gone now.
Yeah, Justin's gone.
Justin's
He just
gone.
left.
Yeah, I don't think Adriel Moreland has a webcam, but if you want to do it anyway, we could do it through the chat, I guess, like we do with YouTube. We also have Juan Espinoza on YouTube if you want to try over there.
Well, it's you know, it's hard now. I feel like we're in too deep because you know, he's on his phone. You know, maybe we should go with I Love Cyclops then.
We can do him on his phone if you want.
All right.
Yeah. All right, go for it. Ask your questions, and Angel Borland's going to answer in the comments.
All right, great. So today's trivia is on topical comic news. Question number 1. Please listen to all 3 answers before you take your guess. Vault Comics announced a new comic with a new twist on magic and spy genres called blank. Is it A, Magic Lethal Beings, B, Shadow Service, or is it C, Judi Dench? So it's either A, Magic Lethal Beings, don't pick it, or it's B, Shadow Service. All right, B is correct. Here we go. Question number 2. The Hero Initiative is offering writing classes from who? Is it A, Greg Pak?
Stop it with the shears.
B, Brian Michael Bendis? Or is it C, Kate Winslet? So it's either A, don't pick it, or it's B, Brian Michael Bendis. It's a lot of B's in there. Yes, B is correct. All right, here we go. Last one.
Nice.
Valiant will relaunch what flagship title? Is it A, Exo Manowar, B, Ninjak, or is it C, Gerard Depardieu? So it's either
Perfectly
A,
pronounced.
if you would like $25, or you could pick B. A is correct.
All right.
So
Congratulations.
Hard cut on the music.
Yeah.
Trivia ends when it ends.
I usually try to fade it out, but we're done. Adriel, thank you so much for playing. Definitely shoot us an email at comicbookclublive.com at comicbookclublive@gmail.com. And we will get you set up with a $25 gift card to Midtown Comics, which you can use online nice and safely. Now, your answers indicate a secret movie, Pete.
That's
They
right.
The
indicate.
answers. Is it, as Edward Doherty states, Helmet?
Hamlet. It's Hamlet.
Oh,
No,
Hamlet.
he said Helmet. Is
he
that
said
correct?
helmet.
Is it Helmet?
He said helmet.
Yeah, it is Hamlet, 1996. And just wanted to say 6 years ago today, rest in peace, my captain. Much love, Robin Williams.
Wow, that's nice. Oh, Captain, my Captain. Does that put an end to the Robin Williams portion of the trivia?
No.
Oh. Seems like a great time to do that.
It does, doesn't it? But no.
Okay.
Not until we're done. Not until we've done every freaking movie.
Oh, man.
Truly
This is terrible. All right, let's talk about what we're looking forward to tomorrow. As we know, tomorrow is New Comic Book Day, except DC Comics, which are out today. But what are you all looking forward to? Pete, what are you looking forward to checking out?
Well, I'll tell you, my favorite this week, and I'm very excited about it, is Seven Secrets #1.
Ooh, from
Yeah.
Boom Studios. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
by Tom Taylor. New book. We're going to have a review of it on the Stack. I don't want to say much about it, but we will talk about it on the Stack podcast.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, goes up in the Comic Book Club feed and its own dedicated Stack feed, 9 a.m. on Wednesday. So check that out. Justin, what are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to Amazing Spider-Man number 46. This comic, we've talked about it a lot. It's a fun, lighthearted, classic Spider-Man stories. A lot of Boomerang, a lot of influence. It's written by Nick Spencer, Deadly Foes of Spider-Man from back in the day. It's taken a turn in the last couple issues.
Sure has.
And it's going to a really awesome, exciting place, I think. And I'm very excited to see what comes next.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to Dryad #4 is coming out from Oni Press. This book is so cool and interesting and not what you'd expect from it. It starts off as a fantasy tale. That's not where it goes. I don't even want to ruin it necessarily, but I've really been enjoying every issue. And again, we're going to have a review of that in the stack. We should also mention we'll probably be rolling as a bonus into our live show next week. We're going to be doing... fingers crossed, an interview with Curtis Wiebe, who writes the book, and Justin Osterling, who draws the book. So that'll be a fun, non-live bonus for you all, but that'll be in the regular Comic Book Club feed as well. And folks, that is it for our show.
We've done it again.
So, a couple of things to plug before we go. First of all, I want to thank our amazing guests for coming on. Thank you, James Emmett and Kirsten Thompson from I Am Hexed. Check out their Kickstarter that's up right now. Also, W. Maxwell Prince from Ice Cream Man. Definitely pick up every volume of that over on Image Comics. It is absolutely awesome. A couple of things to plug on our and next week's guests. We're going to have 2 more great guests for you. We're going to have Jeremy Whitley from School of Extraterrestrial Girls is going to be here. Also, Steve Orlando is finally going to be here talking about Commanders in Crisis, his new book. So that should be awesome and weird and fun. A couple of other podcasts we do. Star Guys, our Stargirl podcast, is just wrapping up tonight, Tuesday night, for season 1. So definitely check that out. We're going to have a bonus podcast speculating all about season 2 of Stargirl. Also, Let's Hear It for the Boys. Our boys podcast has wrapped up season 1. Is heading into season 2 starting in September.
Yeah.
Umbrella Podcademy, our Umbrella Academy podcast, is not done with season 1 yet, but it's going along.
We're getting there.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
We got a fun one coming from Pete and I. It was chatty.
Yeah, it went longer than I expected. I'm excited to listen to it. Patreon.com/Comic Book Club to support the show. iTunes, Android, Spotify, Stitcher, or the app of your choice to subscribe and listen. ComicBookClubLive.com for this podcast and many more. And that's it. Until next time, thanks, everybody.
Wait, can we do the Patreon thank you?
Yeah, we're going to do it afterwards.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night, guys.
Oh, God, I don't know how to turn this off.
Leave it in. Leave it in the podcast.
Wait, no, I seriously don't know how to turn it off.
Just hit the X. Hit the X button. Hit the X-Men.
Yeah,
don't
hit
have
the
one.
Xbox.
I don't have one.
Well, we'll
That's
stay
it.
here. We'll stay here with you, Alex, as long as it takes.
I can
until
kick
you
you out,
figure it
but
out.
I can't stop it.
Never
here we
kick
go.
us out. You can't stop the feed, Mal. You can't
can't
stop
stop
the
I'm
feed.
gonna hit this